It actually gives me great pleasure to say a few words. In particular because this year, Macwood celebrates its 170th year. And as you know, Macwood started back in 1841 by a Scottish ship's captain. And I think it's particularly appropriate and relevant that today we have another good Scotsman in our midst in the form of the British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka. So in addition, of course, as you know, my late grandfather, Nonis, and my late mother and my younger sister, they're all lawyers by profession. I was the black sheep of the family going into medicine. And it's particularly significant that not only is our British High Commissioner a Scotsman, but he's also a lawyer.
Okay.
So there we are. We have a wonderful meeting and synergy of aims. And as you know, the Macwoods, I think we're very proud of our heritage, that it's only been within 2 family companies, but particularly that we've managed to keep the same family principles and values. I think that is what really has stood us in great stead. That is what has kept us going. We've not been overly exuberant. We've not gone for tremendous amounts of the bottom line. But what we have done is always strive in a simple way to create value for our people, for our stakeholders, for our products, and for society, and particularly for the nation. And we are happy that, and I think that all of you present here today should feel justifiably happy and proud that we are all part of an organization that has been serving the nation for so many years, and moreover has had a long history of trade with Britain and indeed the world for so many years, which is pretty unusual. I think that despite all the difficulties and vicissitudes of the world wars and the recessions and the Asian crises and the oil shocks, we still managed to keep betting on. And I think that's a wonderful thing, and I think it's partly because we've always tried to preserve the simple values. And particularly, of course, I don't take any credit for this. It was really something that was passed on to us from our grandparents, our late grandparents and our late parents. I remember particularly my late mother, Nonis, who, being the only female who broke all the glass ceilings by being the only female to head a plantation company with this bastion of main domination and gin and tonics and clubs, that she was still very passionate. She always kept her feet, I think, firmly on the ground, and was very passionate about helping the community. And I think in that context, I'm very happy that we are trying to continue these aims. It's nice to have a bringing together all the Macwoods group. All of you are doing these voluntarily, spending your time, your money, and your effort to come and do this center, which is now funded and a collaborative effort between Macwoods, Aglavat the Plantations, Macwoods Infotech, who write the syllabus, Macwoods IT, who help with the software, and the Macwoods Research Foundation. And it's wonderful that we can, and of course the Sri Nonis Charity Fund. So I think it's wonderful that we bring all these institutions together. Particularly, I think, because we recognize the value of education. I feel that now that after 28 years of bitter conflict, we now have peace in our country. And it's the most wonderful opportunity and historical opportunity that we all have to make that transition from developing to developed nation status. Moreover, to be able to actually now join together and build a pluralistic and inclusive society, and join together to rebuild the nation, not only the state, but also the nation, which actually consists of its people. And I think that, I must say, in that context, we also, opening this Center for Education today, recognize that the Mahinda Chintana, in terms of its principles, has His Excellency the President has clearly articulated the value of growth with equity, of proper growth, and of trying to bridge the urban-rural gap. That is particularly why we are here today. We come from Colombo. We do have the advantages of Colombo, but what we are trying to do is actually make some measure, however small, to bridge the urban-rural gap, which is so prevalent in developing countries such as ours. And I think that, to that end, I think that, for example, on IT education, I gather that the sort of IT literacy rate has gone up from about 5 to about 35%, but I think the target is about 75% by 2016. The other thing that is of course very relevant, and that's why we try to do both, is to bring the value of English. His Excellency the President made 2009, a couple of years ago, the year of English and IT literacy. And I think that is something that we are trying to focus on here too, because I believe that if you have IT for technology and English as a language which is spoken by so many around the world, you make a young girl or boy in a rural village globally employable. And if they are globally employable, they then will no longer be dependent on us. And if I think you can take a rural boy or girl from a rural village who is disadvantaged or underprivileged, and they can then find their own 2 feet and look after their children and their children's children, then we have it, and they no longer depend on us, we have then achieved success. And that is what, in a small way, we're trying to endeavor to do. I think that English, as you know, is truly, I think today links the world. And I have been certainly passionate about trying to ensure that people even speak English even in the office. It's always sometimes a challenge, but I think we still continue trying that. Because I think English has really a wealth of literature, a wealth of knowledge behind the language itself. And there's so much we can learn and so many opportunities that arise as a result of English. So I think that that's something that we need to work towards. And the other aspect of this center, I think, is that it is particularly for the youth. It's not so much for adults, because I think we are able to fend for ourselves. You know, over 1.3 billion youth are present in the world today. Over 200 million of them live in poverty. And I think initiatives like this, however small, with non-sectarian and non-parochial education, will certainly serve to expand the reach of understanding and reason. Because I think it is at that age, that's why we should encourage youth educational programs. And I must say, in that context, places like the British Council, the Commonwealth Society and so on have had wonderful programs for the youth. Because I think it is at that age that the mind is most open to inquiry and debate. And it is at that stage that we can really take a youth forward and really create value for that person. So I'm really very happy to say these few words today. I think we are sincere, Your Excellency, in Sri Lanka, in our efforts. We are sincere and united in our efforts to build bridges between all our communities. And we are sincere in our efforts to try and build a pluralistic and inclusive society, irrespective of what might be thought sometimes. And I think it is of particular importance and of great value that you have taken your valuable time, yourself and the Deputy High Commissioner, to actually come and grace this occasion and do it jointly with us, because as Lalit said, it's actually quite an unusual and wonderful thing. I don't think it's been done before in Sri Lanka, where the British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka and the Sri Lankan High Commissioner designate to London have joined together as an expression of forging and progressing with the traditional UK-Sri Lankan relationship. We have such an enormous reservoir of goodwill with Britain, and it is time that we again actually replenish that reservoir, got together, and it is an opportune time for the UK to actually come into Sri Lanka and to help us with our reconciliation, our reintegration and regeneration program in the country, so that all our communities, and help us join together in this endeavor so that all our communities, Tamil, Sinhalese, Muslim and Burgher, and all religions, Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu and Christian, can all join together, rebuild our nation, and all reap the dividends of economic growth. So I think that will be I am, and I thank you very much. I think it is a very interesting thing that we have done today. I think it's a landmark in Sri Lanka. However small it may be, I think the gesture and this concept that we have carried out today is extremely unusual, and I thank all of you in the Macwoods group.